Hello class and welcome to the video for stage 4 for your projects in Emerging Multimedia Practice 232. MMDD 232, Emerging Multimedia Practice 1. See, even I can get the names mixed up sometimes. Welcome to this video. This is going to be quite a comprehensive video, as they often are, but that's because stage 4 is maybe the most important stage at this point so far, considering it is going to tell you everything for the rest of the semester. So it's very important you understand everything that's expected of you over these next few weeks, because this is going to be how you finish up your projects, get everything completed on time, and make sure that you put a nice bow on it at the end, receive a satisfactory, and then you pass the course and you can move on in your MMDD career. On to semester 4. But like I said, it's very important that you meet all of the expectations at this stage, because there is quite a bit going on, believe it or not, and because I'm sure your other classes are also getting quite busy at this time as the semester is closing out. It's very important for you to manage your time well to ensure you're able to complete everything that is expected of you. Now, this video you might think is a bit long or something along those lines. So, why not watch it at 1.5 speed, 2 times speed, right? It's just very important you get this information. Unfortunately, I still get messages from students all the time where they're confused about things that are very clearly covered in not only the course videos provided, but also in the announcements on Blackboard and every other piece of communication I have with this class. So it's just very important for you to check these things out. Doesn't require that much of your time to do so, and this is how you can stay on top of things for this class, which is building good professional habits so that you stay on top of project and professional work in the future. Now, with that, I'll go ahead and just hop into things here. We will start, as always, with the critical path. Here it is once again. You've already been through stage 1 and stage 2. We've already talked about that at length. Most recently, though, you've been in stage 3, the production stage. And during these weeks, there was a drop-in session which a handful of students came to. Hopefully they found it to be insightful or helpful in some way. You had stage 3A due, I think shortly after reading week it was. Then supervisor meetings have been running so that I'm meeting with students to ensure you're on a good track to finish your project off. And stage 3B would have been due very recently in terms of when you're watching this video, right? So keep in mind with stage 3B, you are expected to have your production work completed. Now, it's not going to be maybe in the most polished state, but it should be completed. You should not have held off on production work to finish over these next couple of weeks, because if you do, you're going to be very overwhelmed with what you're going to be working on. So you really need to have that work completed so that you can just do minor final tweaks and then get your case study in on time, which is what's going to be happening over these next few weeks. So there will be another remote team meeting, peer feedback session you will be asked to organize and do with your team. You'll finalize your work, and the professional development activities also due at this stage, right? Again, I would have assigned that around week 8, I think at the start of the production stage, and you should have been aware of it for a long time now. Once again, any messages saying, I didn't know this assignment was there, it's been mentioned many times, you've been reminded of it, so it's there. And so you should have finished it by this point. And then stage 4 is due in week 13, right? So you also might say, oh, I thought that we had until the very last day of the semester to complete all of this. No, that's never been the case. You will be completing this submission for stage 4 in week 13, which gives you sort of the last week of the semester to breathe a bit from this project, to focus on other courses that you may have, as well as to do a final reflection and provide some peer comments, which is a more low stakes sort of assignment and activity for you to do. So all of these things will be covered in this video. So I'll put this back up, and then we will go into stage 4. Here we go. So you'll see a stage 4 overview, you will see stage 4 resources, and you will see a final submission area. Let's go ahead and click on the overview first, right? This is how you would have accessed this video. Oh my goodness, look at that big red text. No late submissions will be accepted for stage 4. You must finish your project and case study on time to receive a SAT in the course. This is very important. This is something that I'm going to reiterate multiple times, but this is the final deliverable you're being asked to do. Just like if you had a final project deadline, right? Maybe there could be some leeway here and there with development throughout this point, but when it comes to the final deadline of when this thing is expected to be completed, that's a hard deadline. So no late waivers for stage 4. Get the work in on time. Okay, it's very important. And once again, this is the most significant deadline in the course. Not to add pressure, which you might be feeling at this point, but it's really important for you to meet this deadline because, once again, professionalism and timeliness is something that's evaluated in this class. When it comes to your final project deliverable that's being asked of you, getting that in on time is extremely important. Overview, you've now reached stage 4, finalize and deliver for your multimedia project. The goal of this stage is to polish your work and prepare it for presentation. You'll refine your project, review all the elements, and ensure everything aligns with your initial vision before delivering the final product. Purpose of stage 4. This stage is focused on fine-tuning and finalizing your work. You will revisit all your assets and content, ensuring they are cohesive, polished, and ready for submission or presentation. Okay? So here are some tasks you're going to be working on. Review and refine your work, paying attention to details such as typos, consistency, visuals, and overall flow, right? That doesn't say finish editing the second half of your video, right? No, it says you should have a cut of your video. Now you're just changing minor things here and there, right? Are there any typos in the slides or anything like that, right? Are the typos in your prototype you need to fix up? Right? Are there missing links in your prototype, right? Again, it depends on each individual's project, but really, you should not be doing significant amount of project work at this stage. It's just very minor final things to polish it off. You will conduct a thorough quality check to identify any mistakes or areas for improvement. Once again, really making sure your project is in a complete state. You'll receive peer feedback from your remote team for more perspectives on your work and ensure the project meets the expectations and standards required, right? So you'll be evaluating one another, seeing, basically your final production work at this point, and giving each other any comments and insight for just final things that your peers can do to polish their work off, as well as any insights into how they can make a compelling case study as well. Because that's sort of the main deliverable here is going to be your final case study for your portfolio showcasing your project, okay? So your final submission isn't just, here's my completed project, right? Here's the video. No, you have to put together a case study that details your whole creative process throughout this semester, which will be something that's on your portfolio, which will help you immensely in getting things like your work placement as well as a job after this program. You will complete a project reflection to close off the project. That's not a super intensive thing. I'll talk about it later, as well as peer comments on one another's final case studies, just so you can make sure you're looking at each other's final work and, sort of getting into the algorithm of providing comments on each other's projects so that maybe more people can see them and stuff like that. Key takeaway at this point, the more thorough and well prepared you were during the earlier stages, as always, the more smoother the finalization process will be. Don't rush this step. You might be very tempted to, but taking the time to review and polish your project will elevate its quality. Ensure that every element is cohesive and aligns with your original concept before delivering your finished work for the world to see, right? This isn't just some school assignment that you're submitting and then you can forget about it, right? This is something that's for your professional portfolio, okay? This is something that's going to help you beyond just this class, okay? So really keep that in mind. That should help you to be able to understand the importance of this. Stage 4 breakdown. The stage is, it says one part. Let me just quickly edit that. Well, yeah, it technically is one part, lasting 2 weeks with the additional final peer comments. Okay, no, that's correct. Sorry. So basically, this brunt of stage 4 is happening during weeks 12 and 13, leading up to your stage 4 submission. So that's going to be your professional development activity is due in week 12. That's its own separate submission for you to make sure you complete. You'll participate in your second peer feedback session with your remote team. You will develop your final Behance case study, and you will share your work on the sharing board on Blackboard, and you will then in week 14 provide your reflection and final peer comments. Okay, so it's split up like that. I'll be going through each of these things. Remember that each submission will also request an associated timesheet and an updated project plan, so make sure to track your coursework time and check off tasks on your project plan as you complete them. There are separate submissions for the professional development activity and final peer comments, right? Those aren't a part of your stage 4 submission. It'll all make sense here in Blackboard. So that is the overview. Now here are the stage 4 resources. Okay, this one pretty straightforward. Peer feedback session 2. It's the same guidelines as with session 1. You open this up, tells you that you need to schedule a meeting to meet with your remote team. You should all be connected by this point. There's the peer feedback form for you to fill out, just like last time. You'll also be asked to include proof of your meeting, just like last time. It's so funny to me. A student in one of these classes said to me, "Oh, we all took the picture already, that I just need to send them my project to get feedback on it." And I just like couldn't believe, first off, that the student was revealing this, but I appreciate that. But it's also the thought that, okay, we need to have a picture showing that we met with each other. So let's just meet and take a picture, but not give each other the feedback. And then later we'll send each other our work to give feedback on. That's just not the intention of this activity. The whole point is that you're actually meeting with these people to have a live session of sharing your work, right? Practicing the idea of presenting your work to others, just like you would in a professional setting, presenting your work to your peers to get feedback from them before delivering things to your client, right? So it's meant to help you, get used to sharing your screen if you're doing it online, or meeting with people, showing your work, saying, here's what I've done so far, and then requesting feedback from your peers, right? And once again, it isn't that they're filling out this worksheet. You are supposed to be hearing the feedback they give you and taking note of it, because that's also a skill you'll need to develop in your career, to be able to be taking in feedback from others and making note of it, right? It isn't that you send someone a sheet and say, tell me what you think. So it's just funny to hear that students are finding weird ways to circumvent this stuff. Students always find creative ways to not do what's expected of them. So please just meet with each other, give each other feedback, have a session of connecting with one another, build professional relationships with one another, complete these forms, and then use that feedback for final tweaks to your work, right? As well as ways to present it in your case study. So please make sure that you're connected with your team, you get that scheduled, and you complete that on time. Next is the Behance case study guideline, right? This is quite important, actually extremely important for your final submission, because this is detailing what is expected of your final case study, which is the grand thing you're putting together here. First, it's recommended you search Behance for case studies of similar projects. This can give you a sense of some industry standards, as well as which case studies stand out and which ones don't, to give you insight into your own approach, right? You want to make a case study that's impactful, that's strong, that showcases your work well, because that's going to be what helps you when presenting this to potential employers, right? Which is the main purpose of all of this. Structure. Your case study needs to use the following structure. Now, you can vary as needed depending on your project, but it should follow this overall structure, or at the very least include all this information. First, start your article with something to catch your reader's attention, like an eye-grabbing component of your final project. Something with animation could be cool. Or just, here's the final screen I put together, right? Something that someone opens up the case study and says, whoa, you know what, that's pretty amazing. Let me just go through this whole thing to learn about how this person made this, okay? You want to make a strong first impression. Then your project overview, okay? State your chosen topic area and project direction. So here's my motion graphics campaign for Nike that I developed. What was your project goal? State your overall goal with this project. My goal was to create 1 motion poster and 2 social media ads promoting the new Air Jordans, right? This is information you can pull from your stage 1 proposal, okay? Then list the technology used. So list the key technologies, software, applications, hardware that you use for your project, right? So again, when you're applying for jobs and stuff like that, if someone wants to know that you're proficient in Illustrator and Photoshop and you use those things for your project, you'd want to include those things in the technology used, because this is a demonstration of those skills, right? So it's very important for you to list what is the technologies, what's the software you used that you developed when making this project, because once again, this is important for employers and stuff to know. And look at this, more big red text. Include any use of AI tools here. Be honest, even if it was used to improve writing for this case study, okay? This is just honest transparency as as a professional, as a designer. Just say if you used ChatGPT to improve some of the writing in the case study. That's no big deal. as long as you say it, right? Because the last thing that you want is to have this beautifully written case study. Someone sees it, says, wow, this person's a great writer. Let me go ahead and hire them and give them all this work where they need to write reports on different things that we're putting together. And then you're like, well, wait a minute, I didn't actually write that thing. Let me just put all of this into ChatGPT. Then your supervisor is saying, what are you doing? We thought that you could write this, right? Then they say, no more soup for you, right? You're fired, okay? So be transparent with any AI tools you use. You don't want to end up in a scenario like that, which again, that's very specific, but that reveals the idea that you are not being honest about the work that you actually did, right? You are effectively kind of lying and being dishonest, which is unprofessional, okay? So just seriously, say if you used AI, ChatGPT for ideation, whatever, anything you use for image generation, because again, that's also a technology you're developing skills with. They would rather know that you have good skills in these tools rather than not knowing you use them at all and expecting you to have those skills that you are basically lying about having, okay? Next up, which is the most important part of this, is your creative process. Discuss the creative process and learning you completed across the semester. This should come across as a story on how you went from starting the project to finishing it, including key process materials, ideation work, sketches, drafts, etc., and commentary. A good rule of thumb is to just include an example from each stage of the project. This will show crucial creative development. One of the reasons why I have you submit all of those stage 1, stage 2A, etc., is so that you can actually go back to your submissions and say, oh, this is an early version of the prototype I was working on. Let me include that in my case study to show where I was at that point and how that developed into the final thing I made. If I didn't require you to be submitting those things, you may not have such clear examples of the work you've been doing this semester, okay? So just like you can pull your project overview and goal from your proposal in stage 1, you can pull your creative process from your submissions you've had so far, right? It's compiling all of this together. Then you have your final project at the end showcasing the final completed work as a culmination of your creative process, right? So you first grab someone's attention with something exciting that you did, then go through the whole thing of here's the project, here was my goals, here's the technology I developed and used for this, here's the process I went through, and here's the grand final thing, okay? You are strongly advised to embed your creative work, whether it's a Figma prototype, whether it's a video upload on YouTube, embed it in your case study in a way that integrates seamlessly into it, okay? Troubleshoot for your particular project or content. If you say, how do I embed a Figma prototype, you can look that up. It's quite straightforward, honestly. And unfortunately, I still get UI UX projects from students where they provide, here's a link to my prototype. It's just so much more impactful if the prototype is embedded directly into the case study. It's more professional. It showcases your work better. It's more impressive for people, right? Same, just upload your video on YouTube and embed it on there rather than uploading it directly into Behance, or some students will even say, here's a link to my Google Drive that has the video in it. That's not that great. You should have a YouTube video, because that also shows you know how to upload things to YouTube. Not everyone does, and if you're going to be working in video production stuff, they want to make sure you can do that. Okay, here's some examples of previous students' case studies. I would have gone through some of these at the very start of the semester, actually, and I actually plan to maybe send you a few more examples from the latest round of MMDD 255 students I've had this semester. But you can see with things like this promotional package here, look at this. You open it up and you say, ooh, interesting. There's interesting visuals here. Here, let me refresh this. You say, oh, wow, this is cool. There's motion in it. There's artistry in what was being created here. I wonder what this project is. Oh, okay, so they were making stuff for Kili. That's cool. Oh, they use After Effects and ooh, an arrow. That's cool. So there's some AR in this. Oh, Fruity Loops. I guess they did some audio editing too. Here's some research and inspiration that they did. Here's their pre-production work with some examples of how it was looking at the time, right? Here's, oh, interesting. This is how they put down their ideas initially for their AR component of this. Here's more of their production work showing proficiency with these tools, okay? More of their production work here. And oh, wow, cool. So here's the final video. Wow, that's quite impressive. Oh, and I can keep scrolling. Wow, this is their work they did in AR. And then, oh, I can scan that and see it on my phone. That's pretty cool, right? So make it an engaging experience, okay? And take inspiration from things like this, right? There's an aesthetic coherence to this case study as well, just with the colors and font and all of that grand old stuff. Now, becoming more proficient with making things for Behance is something you're going to have to develop at this stage, Okay, so you want to give yourself time for that. This means not waiting until 11 o'clock at night before the submission and saying, let me put this on Behance. No, it's going to require more from you to get used to the platform, used to how you can showcase content on here. There's a lot of different approaches you can have to doing this. And it's a part of the self-directed learning here too, is to become proficient in being able to do this, because it'll be very important for your professional portfolio to be able to showcase work in this way. Another one here. So this is one I used at the start of the semester. This one's very straightforward. Once again, starts with an impactful, beautiful design of this book, and then provides the overview, the goals that they had of what they wanted to complete, challenges that they faced. Here's their creative process, right? Mood board, color palette. Here's sketches that they did. Here's some more sketches that they did. Here's the final outcome of what they drew. And the illustrations they made, and then here's some final mock-ups, right? This is a very straightforward project, and it's, look at that, 9 thumbs up, 98 views, 6 comments, right? So this is a great piece of work here, and it's not overly complicated either, right? This is very straightforward, but this is no doubt a good project on this person's portfolio, especially for things like graphic design work, right? And it showcases their work well, while also being succinct, while also demonstrating their skills, okay? So there's some other examples here too, but also you can even just search again on Behance motion graphics, right? See what other people are up to, get a sense of the kinds of projects. There's really professional stuff on here even, right? Cool, they embedded GIFs directly in here. Let me go ahead and do that, right? That makes it look quite cool. Oh, interesting. That's their creative process they're showing. Oh, cool, sketches, right? So, you know, you can see how different professional people approach this as well, but you want to make sure that you have a process very similar to this in your case study. Here's also plenty of resources, help guides, articles, videos on creating your case study on Behance, doing the content and structure of your case study, as well as even improving the writing for your case study, okay? So lots of resources here. So if you follow these resources and access them, that's going to help you a lot in putting this together. You won't be so overwhelmed by doing this, okay? Those resources are there to help you and advise you along this process. Okay, so that's the resources for stage 4. Then we have the final submission, which is a multi-stage process. First, this is the stage 4 submission itself. Look at that, no late submissions once again, and here we are with the red text once again. Okay, no late submissions. Doesn't have to be said any more than that. Deliverable requests, your final timesheet, your updated final project plan. Should have everything checked off at this point, up to week 13 at the very least with this due. Your peer feedback worksheet that you need to make sure you complete during this stage, as well as a link to your Behance case study. You can just put that in the comment box there on Blackboard. You can once again access the case study guideline here, which will help you along in this process. And it says to make sure to also share on the Behance sharing board. So if you open this, it's literally just a discussion board on Blackboard, and it says share a link to your Behance case study here and access and provide comments on your peers' projects on Behance, not on Blackboard, right? So if we go, where was that student's project? If we go here, back to the princess, right, you'll see that a lot of these comments are from classmates, right, that would have accessed this student's project from this discussion board basically, and provided, you know, inspiring positive comments to each other, right? So this is meant to be an opportunity for you to share your work, showcase it with the rest of the class, and you can go around clicking on each other's great projects, providing comments for them, okay? So make sure when you submit your case study here that you also post it on that sharing board. They have the same due date, which is in 2 weeks and 5 days from this video, which is Monday, April 14th at 11:59 p.m. It's going to come quick. Your timesheet should reflect the following tasks: your peer feedback session, finalizing work, right, and specify what tasks you had to do to finalize your work at this stage, and case study development, which is going to take time. You can also include watching this video, classic, right? That's part of this all. Submission guidelines, no, late waivers are not permitted for this submission, okay? And if you want some feedback, you can always include a professional message there. Yes, must include all the requested deliverables to receive a SAT. So that's that submission. Once again, here's the Behance sharing board, also with the same due date, so you just make sure you also post a link to your case study here. And then basically around a week due from that, or no, I think towards the end of the same week, I'll open the calendar in a second, you'll have a final project reflection and peer comments. So first, reflect on your overall project development throughout the semester with questions below, right? This is an important way for you to start to actually reflect and internalize all that you went through this semester in developing this project and the skills you learned along the way and what you learned about yourself along the way. Because this whole thing, yes, of course, it's all about doing creative multimedia work. It's about staying to deadlines. It's about having something strong on your portfolio to help you get employment. But it's also about the own process you go through as a creative person, right? And learning about yourself through this process. So that's really important. And you don't want that key thing, that key experience, to be lost. So this reflection is just to help you along the way. It also gives me some insights into where students are at. So first off, did you meet your project goals with the final project? Why or why not? What main challenges did you face? How did you overcome them? What did you learn about your chosen discipline or project area? And then most importantly, what did you learn about yourself, right? Because you're going to come out of this having to now know more about yourself as a creative person and how you approach projects like this. Then final peer comments, a screenshot or image file. Once again, make sure you have a link shared on the sharing board. Access other people's projects there. Comment on your peers' posts on Behance and attach screenshots of supportive comments from you on 2 of your peers' Behance projects. So you would, have a comment here, take a screenshot, have a comment on someone else's project, take a screenshot. Okay, just proving that you added comments to people's work. And the more y'all engage with each other's projects, the more it'll appear in other people's feeds. This is an opportunity for y'all to get more exposure on your creative work, right? Again, hack the algorithm here. Get each other's work getting more eyes on it, right? Maybe, who knows, you would get a job out from it. Who knows? And that's it. Cool. So let me go ahead and open up, just so you have a fuller scope here of the calendar. Due dates, I'll do it by month. Stage 2B, so stage 3B here is due at the March 31st, okay? Then you have your professional development assignment due on the 10th of April. Once again, if you waited until the end of when the due date's coming up to work on that, then that's going to take away time that you should be spending on your case study and everything, which, believe it or not, your case study is due the 14th, April 14th, 2 weeks from your 3B submission. So once again, you should have your production work in a final state here. Do final tweaks on it, put your case study together, and then bam. Okay? And then your final project reflections are due at the end of that week, and that's actually due at noon, not at the end of the day. So you want to make sure that you're on top of all of this. Okay, folks. And like I said, it's a lot of information, but the benefit of these videos too is you can always go back and review the information to make sure it's clear, okay? And if it's not clear, then you send me a message, and I'm happy to clarify. If you said, hey, I watched your video and you said this, could you please detail that further? I would love nothing more than to do that, so please. And just a couple of final things just to make sure I cover my bases here. Yes, it says weeks 12 through 14 for stage 4, but remember that the case study is due in week 13. Okay. But also, honestly, because this semester is so weird with how it started on a half week and all of that, don't even pay that much attention to those numbers. Literally just pay attention to the calendar, okay, of when things are due. That's going to help you way more. Also, I know I keep saying, okay, this case study, it's for your portfolio. It's to help you get jobs and stuff like that. Literally, students from MMDD 232 last semester have been coming to me and saying, hey, I secured my work placement and it was the project that I made in your class that helped me do so, right? That was the thing that got the person's attention to get an interview, to talk about my process and the work that I do to land this position, right? And, I even talked to a student who has a UI UX position at Roots, right? The clothing brand thing. That's awesome, right? And a huge part of them getting that position was the UI UX project they made in this exact class. So like I keep saying, there is importance to this beyond just getting your course credit, which is also important, but more important is everything else that comes with it. And what's also cool about these case studies is they are live on Behance. So, you can continue to tweak and improve them as well over time as you keep putting your portfolio together, okay? But they should be in a complete state for this course of course, in order to ensure you meet all the learning outcomes and that you get that grand SAT evaluation, and then you can once again move forward in this program. So I believe I will end my video here, but keep an eye out for announcements where I will detail things further. And if you have any questions, as always, send me a message on Blackboard, okay? And I look forward to seeing how all of your final projects come together, okay? And best of luck at this stage, no doubt, but you will create something impactful. I believe it, okay? Anyway, good luck.